So how about that bulletin cover this morning? The sun. Actually, Kathy took a picture and made it into a bulletin cover. You know, I was a little weary when I came in this morning and opened the church and got the coffee going, and I looked at that bulletin cover, and I just felt so positive, felt so good. And then this morning, it's kind of a double-header because I took my wonder dog Harley out in the back, and the moon was like the sun. It just lit up the backyard of the church. And then, of course, looking across luxurious LaGrange Road. The sun was coming up. It looked like the most beautiful place in the world. There was kind of a collision of pink and orange in the sky. And I looked at the sign, and I said, oh, I forgot to change the sign, but then I saw Paul Bauer's name, and being a commander, wondering how his wife and his child are doing. I saw the number 17, the kids that lost their lives, and thinking of all those families who went back to their high school in Florida this week. And I was thinking how important it is in life to just try to stay positive. To look at life, no matter where or what you are, and try to see what's good about your journey. All those times when you're frustrated, all those times when things don't go the way you want them to, it's sometimes really tough to have a positive attitude. And somehow, not being preoccupied with what is wrong, not being preoccupied with what you don't have, but to hold on to what is right and what is good. And even taking time to rejoice in the good stuff that happens to other people, even if it's not happening to you. I don't know about you, but I'm just so tired of negativity. And I don't like hanging around negative people. And I don't like myself when I feel negative. Even like the local elections, those I don't know who you're for or who you're against, but you listen to enough of those ads where they just beat the whatever it is out of each other, and after a while, no matter what you think, it just gets you down. And you just got to shut them off because negativity is a disease. It can get in your guts and change the way you feel about life. You know, when somebody who's negative walks in the room, you've had that happen, they just kind of take the air out of the room, and you can just feel it affecting everybody. But when somebody walks into the room, and they got a little bit of a smile, and they ask how you are, and they're a positive person, it just lifts everybody up. And that's the kind of person I'm sure you and I would like to be most of the time. And then how about the gospel lesson for today? This is the Jesus we don't see very often. You know, Jesus was so positive because he looked at all the variety of God's people and somehow, some way, was able to hold on to what was good and decent. And all the other people were kind of out to get him because he wanted to make changes that they never had the guts to change. And so he kind of walks into the temple and he sees what's going on. He just kind of overturns the tables and throws them all on the floor because somehow, some way, they didn't respect the sanctity of what he was all about. Well, anyway, something hit me the other day. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with anything, but most of my stuff doesn't. I was at a function, and this couple comes up to me. And they say, Pastor Don, do you remember who we are? Well, at my age, I'm just trying to, no, I have no idea who you are. And I say, I don't really remember what I did yesterday, so tell me who you are. And they said, well, you married us 37 years ago. And they said, by the way, are you in the same place? And I said, yes, I am. Really? And how long have you been there? And I said, well, in July it'll be 44 years. And I'm not sure if you have favorite numbers, but for years, 44 has been one of my favorite numbers. I like the way 44 looks. It's kind of cute. You put two fours back to back, and it just has a nice fit about it. I remember when I was a kid, and I went to Wrigley Field, and that was back in the day when you could decide at 10 minutes to 1 to go to Wrigley Field and get in for about $4 or $5 and sit pretty much anywhere you wanted to. And it was a game, the Cubs against the Milwaukee Braves. That's how old it was. And I remember it was the ninth inning, and the bases were loaded, the Braves were up, and the Cubs were up by 3 runs. And it was exciting because the Milwaukee Braves, all those great Del Crandall and Warren Spahn. And anyway, the Cubs brought in a reliever. It was 2 outs, the bases loaded, and Hank Aaron came up to bat. How can you not like Hank Aaron? Number 44. The first pitch, Hank Aaron took that baby and hit it on the Waveland Avenue. And they were ahead by 1 run. And the thing is, Hank Aaron was such a good person and was so good, the crowd was not all that unhappy. Because even though the Cubs would lose the game, they were just so thrilled to see number 44, Hank Aaron, one of the good guys in the game, hit a grand slam home run. No anger, even applause for the greatness of number 44. So years later, I'm here at the church picnic. I become the pastor of the church, and this family with 4 kids visits for the first time, and they decide to come back in the afternoon for the picnic. In fact, the kid I'm talking about, his mom is still in the choir. And so I see this 10-year-old kid. He's got red hair. We're having a softball game, and he's so competitive, and he's so much fun, and he's wearing a Hank Aaron number 44 jersey. And they joined the church, and he had his first communion. He got confirmed. I did his wedding. And sadly, at a young age, I did his funeral. And we dedicated the spaghetti dinner to him. And I made red hats with the number 44 on them. And when I spoke at his funeral and got up, I wore my 44 hat. And I talked about Scott, number 44. Finally, years later, we're in a church league. And there's nothing like being in a church league where the home team is the Missouri Synod Church. You just walk into the gym and you just feel the goodness of life and the openness of the Spirit. And we were in this league, and it was really fun, and we were pretty good. And I was the coach. Of course, it didn't matter to me whether we won or not. But on this particular Sunday, most of our kids were sick, and we only had 4 players. And so I got to the gym, and the pastor of their church was the coach of their team. And I went up and I said, we had kind of a rough week, a lot of flu, and we only have 4 kids. So I said, is it okay if we just play 4-on-4? And he said, no. And I said, wait a second, we only have 4 kids, so you play 4 and I'll play 4. Is that okay? And he said, no. Basketball teams have 5. It's not my problem that you only have 4. So I went back to my team, and there's a kid on my team named Derek, and he was competitive, a little bit of a hothead. And I said, kids, we're going to play 4-on-5. And Derek said, you got to be kidding me. And I said, Derek, here's the deal. You can't foul out. You can't get kicked out like you did last week. So every time you get a little bit mad, you take your jersey with the love bucket on it and you stick it inside your mouth and you chew on it and you look at me because you got to play the whole game. Well, as it turned out, the game went into overtime. And we lost by 1 point. Derek scored 44 points. And at the end of the game, he started to cry. He put his shirt in his mouth, ran out into the middle of the parking lot, and said what he had to say with nobody listening. Derek now has his PhD, and he's the assistant principal at Carl Sandburg High School. Now, I'm not sure what this has to do with the price of potatoes in Nebraska. I'm just thinking, Jesus in the 40 days in the wilderness, I think it was 44. They just rounded it down to 40 to make it look better. But I do know this. Life is full of games that are not fair. Life is full of people like number 44 who die way too young and leave a grieving family and kids sad and behind. Life is full of aging ministers who like to say the same stories and sing the same song week after week. Life is full of storms and moments that change people's lives, reminding us how fickle and unpredictable life can be. But life is also full of sunrises and sunsets. And life is graced by a higher power who walks every single step with us, even the steps that we do not understand and the steps that we do not like. And life is full of all kinds of things that we can be very negative about. But today, one day at a time, no matter what, I and you, we choose to rejoice in what is good. Amen. If you're able to, the creed is on page 105. Please rise.